Welcome back. We are on chapter 2 of The Richest Man in Babylon, and this is called The Richest Man in Babylon. In old Babylon, there once lived a certain very rich man named Arcad. Far and wide, he was famed for his great wealth. Also, was he famed for his liberality. He was generous in his charities. He was generous with his family. He was liberal in his own expenses. But nevertheless, each year his wealth increased more rapidly than he spent it. And there were certain friends of younger days who came to him and said, "You, Arcad, are more fortunate than we. You have become the richest man in all Babylon while we struggle for existence. You can wear the finest garments and you can enjoy the rarest foods, while we must be content if we can clothe our families in raiment that is presentable and feed them as best we can. Yet once we were equal. We studied under the same master. We played in the same games, and in neither the studies nor the games did you outshine us. And in the years since, you have been no more an honorable citizen than we, nor have you worked harder or more faithfully, insofar as that we can judge. Why then should a fickle fate single you out to enjoy all the good things of life and and ignore us, who are equally deserving?" Thereupon Arcad remonstrated with them, um, saying, "If you have not acquired more than a bare existence in the years since we were youth, it is because you either have failed to learn the laws that govern the building of wealth, or either you do not observe them." And let me read that again. "If you have not acquired more than a bare existence in the years since we were youths, it is because you have either failed to learn the laws that govern the building of wealth, or else you do not observe them." Keep that in mind. Write that in your notes if you're taking notes. Fickle fate is a vicious goddess who brings no permanent good to anyone. On the contrary, she brings ruin to almost every single man upon whom she showers unearned gold. Write that down too. She makes wanton spenders who soon dissipate all they receive and are left beset by overwhelming appetites and desires they have no ability to gratify. Yet others whom she favors become misers and hoard their wealth, fearing to spend what they have, knowing they do not possess the ability to replace it. They further are beset by fear of robbers and doom themselves to lives of emptiness and secret misery. Um, Others there probably are who can take unearned gold and add to it and continue to be happy and contented citizens. But so few and far are they. I know of them but by hearsay. Think you of the men who have inherited sudden wealth, and see if these things are not so. His friends admitted that of the men they knew who had inherited wealth, these words were true, and they besought him to explain to them how he had become possessed of so much prosperity. So he continued, "In my youth, I looked about me and saw all the good things there were to bring happiness and contentment, and I realized that wealth increased the potency of all these. Wealth is a power. With wealth, many things are possible. One may ornament the home with the richest of furnishings. One may sail the distant seas. One may feast on the delicacies of far lands. One may buy the ornaments of the gold worker and the stone polisher. One may even build mighty temples for the gods. One may do all these things and many others in which there is delight for them, for the senses, and gratification for the soul. And when I realized all this, I decided to myself that I would claim my share of the good things of life. I would not be one of those who stand afar off, enviously watching others enjoy. I would not be content to clothe myself in the cheapest raiment that looked respectable. I would not be satisfied with the lot of a poor man. On the contrary, I would make myself a guest at the banquet of good things. Being, as you know, the son of a humble merchant, one of a large family with no hope of an inheritance, and not being endowed, as you have so frankly said, ooh, sorry, with superior powers of wisdom, I decided that if I was to achieve what I desired, time and study would be required. Write that down as well. As for time, all men have it in abundance. You, each of you, have let slip by sufficient time to have made yourselves wealthy. Write that down. Yet you admit you have nothing to show except your good families, of which you should be justly proud. As for study, did not our wise teacher teach us the learning was of two kinds? The one kind being the things we learned and knew, and the other being the training that taught us how to find out what we did not know. Therefore, did I decide to find out how one might accumulate wealth, and when I have found out, to make this my task, to do and do it well. For it is not wise that we should enjoy while we dwell in the brightness of the sunshine. For sorrows enough shall descend upon us when we depart from the darkness of the world of spirit. I found enjoyment, I found employment as a scribe in the hall of records, and long hours each day I labored upon the clay tablets. Week after week and month after month I labored, yet for my earnings I had nothing to show. Food and clothing and penance to the gods, and other things of which I could remember not what, absorbed all my earnings, but my determination did not leave me. And one day Algamish, the money lender, came to the house of the city master and ordered a copy of the ninth law. And he said to me, I must have this in 2 days, and if the task is done by that time, two, two coppers will I give to thee. So I labored hard, but the law was long, and when Algamesh returned, the task was unfinished. He was angry, and had I been his slave, he would have beaten me. But knowing the city master would not permit him to injure me, I was unafraid. So I said to him, Algamesh, you are a very rich man. Tell me how I may also become rich, and all night I will carve upon the clay, and when the sun rises, it shall be completed. He smiled at me and replied, you are a forward knave, but we will call it a bargain. All that night I carved, though my back pained and the smell of the wick made my head ache until my eyes could hardly see. But when he returned at sunup, the tablets were complete. Now I said, tell me what you promised. You have fulfilled your part of our bargain, my son, he said to me kindly, and I am ready to fulfill mine. I will tell you these things you wish to know because I am becoming an old man. An old tongue loves to wag, and when youth comes to age for advice, he receives the wisdom of years. But too often does youth think that age knows only the wisdom of days that are gone, and therefore profits not. But remember this, the sun that shines today is the sun that shone when thy father was born, and still will be the sun that shines when your last grandchild shall pass into the darkness. The thoughts of youth, he continued, are bright lights that shine forth like the meteors that oft make brilliant the sky. But the wisdom of age is like the fixed stars that shine so unchanged that the sailor may depend upon them to steer his course. Mark you well my words, for if you do not, you will fail to grasp the truth I will tell you, and you will think that your night's work has been in vain. Then he looked at me shrewdly from under his shaggy brows and said in a low, forceful tone, I found the road to wealth when I decided that a part of all I earned was mine to keep. And so will you. Write that down. We're going to come back to that. Then he continued to look at me with a glance that I could feel pierced me, but said no more. Is that all? I asked. That was sufficient to change the heart of a sheep herder into the heart of a money lender, he replied. But all I earn is mine to keep, is it not? I demanded. Far from it, he replied. Do you not pay the garment maker? Do you not pay the sandal maker? Do you not pay for the things you eat? Can you live in Babylon without spending? What have you to show for your earnings of the past month? What about for the past year? Fool, you pay to everyone but yourself. Duller your labor for others. As well be a slave and work for what your master gives you to eat and wear. If you did keep for yourself 1/10 of all you earn, how much would you have in 10 years? My knowledge of the numbers did not forsake me, and I answered, as much as I earn in 1 year. You speak but half the truth, he retorted. Every gold piece you save is a slave to work for you. Every copper it earns is its child that also can earn for you. If you would become wealthy, then what you save must earn, and its children must earn, that all may help to give you the abundance you crave. You think I cheat you for your long night's work, he continued, but I am paying you 1,000 times over if you have the intelligence to grasp the truth I offer you. A part of all you earn is yours to keep. It should be not less than 1/10, no matter how little you earn. It could be as much more as you can afford, but pay yourself first. Do not buy from the clothes maker and the sandal maker more than you can pay out of the rest and still have enough for food and charity and penance to the gods. Wealth like a tree grows from a tiny seed. The first copper you save is the seed for which your tree of wealth shall grow. The sooner you plant the seed, the sooner shall the tree grow. And the more faithfully you nourish and water the tree with consistent savings, the sooner you may bask in contentment beneath its shade. So saying, he took his tablets and went away. I thought much about what he said to me, and it seemed reasonable, so I decided that I would try it. Each time I was paid, I took one from each 10 pieces of copper and hid it away. And strange as it may seem, I was no shorter of funds than before. I noticed little difference as I managed to get along without it. But often I was tempted as my hoard began to grow to spend it for some of the goods, for spending for some of the good things the merchants displayed, brought by camels and ships from the land of the Phoenicians, but I was wisely refrained. This one key here helped me become totally and completely debt free in 18 months. So make sure you make note of that. A 12th month after Algamesh had gone, he returned again and said to me, Son, have you paid to yourself not less than 1/10 of all you have earned for the past year? I answered proudly, Yes, master, I have. That is good, he answered, beaming upon me. And what have you done with it? I have given it to Alzamar, the brickmaster, who told me he was traveling over the far seas, and in Tyre he would buy from me the rare jewels of the Phoenicians. When he returns, we shall sell these at high prices and divide the earnings. Every fool must learn, he growled. But why trust the knowledge of a brickmaker about jewels? Would you go to the bread maker to inquire about the stars? No, by my tunic, you would go to the astrologer if you had power to think. Your savings are gone, youth. You have jerked your wealth tree up by the roots. But plan another. Try again. And next time, if you would, have advice about jewels, go to the jewel merchant. If you would know the truth about sheep, go to the herdsman. Advice is one thing that is freely given away, but watch that you take only that which is worth having. He who takes advice about his savings from one who is inexperienced in such matters shall pay with his savings for proving the falsity of their opinions. Saying this, he went away. And it was as he said, for the Phoenicians are scoundrels and sold to Azamar worthless bits of glass that look like gems. But as Algamesh had bid me, I again saved each 10th copper, for I now had formed the habit and it was no longer difficult. Again, 12 months later, Algamesh came to the room of the scribes and addressed me. What progress have you made since I last saw you? I have paid myself faithfully, I replied, and my savings I have entrusted to Agar, the shield maker. to buy bronze, and each fourth month he does pay me the rental. This is key number 2. That is good. And what do you do with the rental? I do have a great feast with honey and fine wine and spiced cake. Also, I have bought me a scarlet tunic, and someday I shall buy me a young ass upon which to ride. To which Algamish laughed, "You do eat the children of your savings. Then how do you expect them to work for you? And how can they have children that will also work for you? First get thee an army of golden slaves, and then many a rich banquet you may enjoy without regret." So saying, he went away again. Nor did I again see him for 2 years, when once more he returned, and his face was full of deep lines, and his eyes drooped, for he was becoming a very old man. And he said to me, "Arcad, hast thou yet achieved the wealth thou dream of?" And I answered, "Not yet. All that I desire, but some I have, and it earns more, and its earnings earn more." Key number 3, write that down. "And do you still take the advice of brick makers about brick making? They give good advice," I retorted. "Arcad," he continued, "you have learned your lesson well. You first learned to live upon less than you could earn. Next, you've learned to seek advice from those who were competent through their own experience to give it. And lastly, you have learned to make your goal work for you. You have taught yourself how to acquire money, how to keep it, and how to use it. Therefore, you are competent for a responsible position. I am becoming an old man. My sons think only of spending and give no thought to earning. My interests are great, and I fear too much for me to look after. If you will go to Napur and look after my lands there, I shall make you my partner, and you shall share my estate." So I went to Nippur and took charge of his holdings, which were large. And because I was full of ambition, and because I had mastered the 3 laws of successfully handling wealth, I was able to greatly increase the value of his properties. So I prepared much, and when the spirit of Algamesh departed for the sphere of darkness, I did share in his estate as he arranged under the law. So spake Arcad, and when he had finished this tale, one of his friends said, "You were indeed fortunate that Algamesh made you an heir." Fortunate only in that I had the desire to prosper first before I met him. And let me stop there because I want to make sure there were some very meaty parts. There were some very meaty parts that I want to dissect a little bit before we continue on. Um, so we talked about paying yourself first, a part of all you earn being yours to keep. We talked about then putting that savings to work for you. And then we talked about letting your savings, that interest as it has babies, continue to make more money for you. And so there are some very, very practical ways that you can employ the law and put it to work to your advantage. You can invest in stocks that pay dividends. You can put the money in a high savings account that is a good interest bearing high savings account, and continue to let the money grow as I did many moons ago. I was part owner in a barber shop, and that was what I did. I started following and implementing what the book had to say, and I put the money in a high yield savings account, and then I took the funds and invested them into the barbershop that I owned, well, with some other members as well. And so that was my first introduction to what he's saying being true. Not only being able to live off less than I earned, because I was able to save a tenth of what I earned each and every pay, but I was able to then put that money to work for me. And then we will continue with part 3, but this has been part 2 of The Richest Man in Babylon. Let me know some of your key takeaways from what we shared today in chapter 2 about the richest man in Babylon. Had you heard any of those principles of those or those laws before have you implemented any of those into your own life? Do you follow a set of rules and principles from a financial perspective that have helped you reach your goals, that have helped you thrive financially? I would love for you to share those with us. Again, my name is LaKeisha Mallett. I want you to be positive, be prosperous. Bye bye.